Great. Now, first of all, let's start from here about the storage hierarchy. Now, you can see this picture as well. Let me just move it down a little bit. Oracle storage hierarchy. That means how is maintaining data inside the database. We all know that Oracle in any database, mainly the structural data is available in tables, structural data. So nowadays, we don't talk only about structural data, no. We talk about semi-structural data, right? Semi-structural data and mainly the non-structural data. So everything comes. Structural data means, for example, let's say we have employee number, employee name, employee salary, likewise. Now these things are structure. There's a structure. A record is, we can identify right away. But we have this unstructured data. Unstructured means text data. The data that you are typing on Facebook Messenger, LinkedIn Messenger, WhatsApp Messenger, just text. And graphical likewise, graphics also, documents. So those are unstructured. Semi-structured means a mix of these things. Now, everything is data now. Oracle database has to handle everything. Now, the beauty of Oracle database means it can occupy all of this data in a single database. That's what I think we mentioned. You may remember some time back, converged database, the concept of converged database. And the nicer thing is we have these concepts as well. I hope you have heard this thing. If you are Googling these things, I think you are aware about what is that data lake concept. Data lake concept. Since you are using Azure Custom Mission as well, I think you should be aware of it. What is data lake? Anyone knows? Anyone? Data lake? That was a new concept emerged, and now we can say it is new. Now it is almost more than 5 to 6 years old. It's a concept that was a next generation of data warehouses. Because you know the traditional data warehouses. So you know what is a data warehouse, right? Now normally in a OLTP environment, we are worried about operational data. No? Operational data. Operational data means what's happening as of now. If you want to get a report, let's say MIS report, Management Information System report, for a week, last week, what happened? We need to get a report of, let's say if it is a bank, I want to see a report of all the customers which are having a good status in terms of credit and debit. Weekly report. So those are manageable normally. Daily reports, weekly reports from a operational report. That's what's happening as of now. So with an online environment, OLTP environment, and with a MIS database, you can manage that. But what if I want to do some analysis? I want to do a historic analysis for the last 5 years. How a particular employee account, bank account has behaved for the last 5 years, historical analysis. And based on those analytics, I need to predict the analytics as well, predictive analytics. And I need to predict the business insights. What is my next vision with this data? What I'm going to do? Those are known as insights. I mean, with dashboards, not just reports like daily report and weekly reports. Those are, we are telling as operational dashboards. So to do those things, we can't use this OLTP database. Then we need the warehouse, data warehouse. But the problem with warehouse is how frequent, how new this data, how real time is the data. That's a problem. Now let's say OLTP means online transaction. No? So what is happening now? It is available. But for the warehouse, I mean, we can't be maintaining 10 to 15 years. Likewise, I mean, everything live, you can't do it like that. So the frequency of synchronizing data warehouse with OLTP, we have to decide. So this is I am talking about the old method. So we are deciding every week we are exporting data from the OLTP environment to warehouse. So then problem. What is the problem? All the reports that warehousing giving 1 week old. Satya Paranai. So all the reports 1 week old is not up to date. It's not real time. Near real time. Satya Paranai. Okay, let's say we are going to daily sync up. Then it becomes kind of a near real time. But just think nowadays with this amount of data, now data is very high now, not like earlier. Earlier with the structural data, you should be able to do it. Export tag we can transfer data from OLTP to warehouse. But now with this text data and a lot of other image data, graphics data, I mean amount of data is huge, no? Due to these smartphones and those things, IoT devices, a lot of things are there, web data. So data, I mean the data is exploding. The data flow is very high. So therefore, you can't be just doing those things now, exporting and refreshing the warehouse with the OLTP. Those things now not possible. So that's why the concept called data lake came up. Data lake came up. So in data lake is a major concept which is in the cloud actually. Oracle is given, Azure is given, AWS is given. Now data lake, what is possible? It is possible to keep structural, semi-structural, unstructural data in a single place and process it together. Similar to the Converge database. Now I just mentioned the Converge database. No, so it's somewhat close to Converge database. So data lake is possible to keep all the data in a single place and process as it is, as needed. So therefore, there is nothing called this exporting, importing, because there's a process called ETL. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. ETL means extract, transfer, and load. That means you are extracting data from the OLTP, transporting to the warehouse and loading it, because the warehouse format is not equal to the OLTP format. Now, these are not possible now actually. Now what's happening? We are maintaining all data in a central place and we are ready to do real-time analytics. And we are ready to give daily reports as well. So OLTP and the warehousing both are happening in the same place and we are doing real-time analytics. But the problem is there still. What is the problem? Due to again the huge amount of data, I mean now this real-time analytics, I mean it's not always possible to keep up this speed due to the heavy data load. Then after data lake, what happened? The new concept emerged called data lake house. Data lake house with data lake. And this is the latest concept. You can take a look at it. Data lake house with data lake. Now what this does, the problem with the data lake was this. The issue was the OLTP data, which is in the same place. Now it is everything is in the same place. No, the format of this data is not supporting for analytics. That's was the problem. Not supporting for analytics. I'm just telling very briefly, not supporting for analytics. So that's what the major issue. So therefore, still the requirement of converting data conversion need to happen even with data lake real time, because we need to get real time data conversion. But this was a big challenge, converting those data real time. So what they did, they introduced a concept called delta lake. Actually here it should be data lake. With Delta Lake, what they did, they converted the data that is coming on OLTP, they converted it to a format where it is suitable to be real-time analytics. So those data is really suitable to do predictive analytics, real-time analytics. Then they are storing it in a place called data lake. That's what happened. Then from the data lake, you can do the analytics reports. Real-time analytics, business insight, everything. Predictive analytics, all the things are possible. So it is pre-converted. Again, the concept of data pipeline also there. Data pipeline, these everything goes together. I'm just telling you the new concepts which are related to the storage areas. Data pipeline also there. That's right. So just get an idea. I'm not going to explain this one in more detail, but just get an idea the latest concepts on these analytics reports, predictive analytics, business insights, data insights, and dashboarding as well. Just try to get an idea, and for your extra study, just go to what is data lake, and those concepts, the latest concepts. Got it? Okay, let's come back to our explanation. Storage hierarchy. Now coming back to Oracle. Now Oracle supports everything. All the whatever latest technology Oracle is ready to support. It is there with Oracle. If you want to learn Oracle Data Lake, the search with Oracle and Data Lake, the details will be there in the internet. Great. Now with regards to Oracle, let's say now we saw the structure. What was the structure? You may remember. Storage. Now we know about the physical structure that we learned on last day. No? Let's get back to our app Oracle and Aura data. This is our database. Now you know this physical structure. So directly, which is where is the data in DBF file. All the tables are located in DBF file. So that is the physical storage. Physically, where you can see that. But to manage this physical storage, Oracle is having another thing called logical storage. Logical storage. Hierarchy. Let's say it's hierarchy. Logical storage hierarchy. Okay. Now, we need to understand the relationship between the logical and physical hierarchy. In the logical hierarchy, the smallest unit is block. Okay. Now we can see this one practically. Okay, I think I haven't start my graphic. Yeah, let me start my practical environment. Okay, let it start. It's okay. It will come. Now, the smallest data unit in logical hierarchy is block. Now, we need to see this thing practically. Thereafter, you get extents. Thereafter, you get segments. Thereafter, you get something called table space. After that, only the database comes. This is the hierarchy. So why I am telling is a hierarchy, it goes up like this. I can say, I can just insert a arrow like this, and I can say, yeah, like this. So hierarchy goes in upper way like this. Okay. So let's put this one. Insert data, and we have this to this. So it goes up, hierarchy goes up like that. So what I am telling is collection of blocks will be equal to the extent. Collection of extents will be equal to segments. Collection of segments will be equal to table space. Collection of table space will be equal to what? Database. So that is how the hierarchy goes up like this. So what is the smallest unit? The smallest unit is block. So block is the smallest data transfer unit within the Oracle database. That is what smaller data transfer unit. Collection of blocks will make up extent. Collection of extents will make up a segment. Collection of segments will make up a table space, and collection of table spaces will make up the whole database. Now this is what the logical hierarchy. So where is the physical hierarchy? Physical hierarchy get links in this way. Data files. We have the DBF files. We know that. We have seen it. DBF files are coming here. Minimum, we need at least one DBF file to make up a table space. So that is where the relationship builds in. At least one DBF file we need to have a table space. This is the link. More the DBF files, what will happen? Larger the size of the table space. So this is the relationship between the logical and physical hierarchy. Now, if I show it in graphic like this, now this is another way of representing the same. You can see here, I think last day also I just showed this one too. So this is another way of representing the same thing. The outer blue circle is the whole database. Within that we have redo-log file, control file, and you can see there's a table space called users table space. And within that we have a.dbf, b.dbf, c.dbf. So in this particular table space, we have three database files. What is now within the DBF file only, we have this again, this what logical hierarchy, because DBF file consists of blocks, DBF file consists of extents, DBF file consists of segments, and one or more DBF file make up the table space. So that is how the hierarchy goes. Any questions you can ask? So practically also we can take a look at this one. Now if I want to see this, let's say I want to see the Oracle block. So we can say show parameter block. Let's say show parameter db underscore block, but block should do it. Okay, it should show it, doesn't matter. So this is what db block size. So this is the block size. I mentioned block is the smallest data transfer unit, the smallest one. So what is the size here? 8 kilobyte. This is in kilobyte. 8 kilobyte.
spelling වැරදි එකයි.
Yeah, good. Yeah, spelling error. Yeah, BLOC, right. So block is the smallest data transfer unit. So this is in kilobyte, 8K. 8K. Now we can define the database block size at the time of database creation. We can define it. I will show you how to create an Oracle database, because of course during the installation we are doing it graphically, but we need to understand manually creating a database as well using the create database command. I will show you that at the time of creation we can define the block size for a database. If not, it will take the default size of 8K. In 19C12C it will take the default size of 8K. Now why this is so important, that you need to understand why this is so important. Now if I just show you, let me open another window here. I think we have this one. Let's use that. Now I just want to see my U01. Let's go to our Linux folder, app, Oracle. Okay, let's see here. Okay, we have ORA data ls. Okay, let me go to my database. I am in ORCL 19DB, no, TNS 19DB, TNS, capital Linux, the case sensitive is there, okay. Right, so this is what. If I clear it, if I say ls ltr time listing, okay, I have the whatever. So you can see the DBF files. Now these are the DBF files. System DBF is there, undo DBF is there, user DBF is there, likewise. And these are the sizes. This is in Linux, Windows also you can get the size. Now around this is in bytes, no? So this is in 400 MB around, and this is in 135, like no, this goes to 1 GB, I guess. So anyway, this is the size. Now, within this DBF file, if I want to store a record, let's say, as I mentioned earlier, all our tables are located within this DBF files. Now, if I want to store a record for a table, I need to claim some space, no? Otherwise, how am I going to store data? For data, I need the space, right? So Oracle space will allocate. What is the minimum way? The smallest way to allocate space is block. Block is the smallest unit, data transfer unit. So therefore, in my database, in this database, if I want to store a record in a table, for that particular record, Oracle will always allocate 8K. That's what it does in this scenario, because my smallest unit is 8 kilobyte. Now, if I further explain it in this way, okay, let's say now I have a record. Now we have the, okay, let's say this one, employee number, employee name. Yeah, we have this record now. Let's say I have a table called EMP. Let's get it like that. I have a table called EMP. Table EMP. Now that EMP table having these columns in the table. Employee number, name, let's say department like this. Okay. Right. Now let's say this each field, there's a length, no, number of bytes, how many characters. Let's say employee number of bytes, let's say it is using employee number 10 characters. Okay, that means what? 10 bytes. 10 bytes likewise. Divide it. And employee name, another 30 bytes likewise. And salary, another 8 bytes. And department number, another 6 bytes. And you need a total of this. Now, if you total up this, let's say, roughly, let's say, how much? 40, 48, let's say 54 bytes. That's what it means. Now, if I take this particular record, very small record, no, only 4 columns we have. For those 4 columns, I need only 54 bytes. But in my case, my database, if I want to store a record, now let's say I want to store employee number, let's say 1001, and my name is ABC, something like that. Let's say salary is like that, and department number is 25. Now, to store this record in a particular table, Oracle will give me, even though actual value is 54 bytes, it will give me how much? 8K. That's what's going to happen. 81928196. This is the value. 8192 bytes. That's what's going to happen. Whereas my actual requirement is what? 54 bytes. So remaining, there is kind of a fragmentation because there's some remainder in the block. There's some remainder. So what Oracle will try to do? It will try to put another record in the same block. That is possible because this payload need only 54 bytes now. But actual block, it has more space. So it will try to fit another record for the same block. That will happen. Any question? Got the idea now what's going to happen here? Okay. Got it. Let's do a small practical. I am going to do this. I am going to create a table. Create table. Let's say EMP10. I am going to say EMP number. Data type number. And I am going to say name. It is a character data type. So let's say Vacha 2 and 20 bytes, something like that. And let's say salary. Again, I'm going to do number. Let's finish it like this. Table created. Okay, table created. Now, as per our understanding, what have we done? We have just created the table. Now, where is that table? That is being done. That is what we need to understand. Where is that table? In the database, where is going to store it? Now the knowledge we have up to now, it is what we know. There is something called storage hierarchy. The smallest unit is block, that we know. Now what we did, we create a table. Okay, now it doesn't consume any space now because there are no records. There are no records at the moment. Just the table is created. So table definition is created. So some entry should have been there in somewhere in the Oracle database. Now let's try to insert a record. Insert into EMP10. Let's say values, and I am going to say employee number, something like that, comma ABC. No, it is Vachano, so I need to put quotes ABC and comma salary again, something like that. Okay. One row created. Now I'm going to commit transfer. Now it is fine. Now it claims some space. Now can anyone try to tell me from where? Now looking at this one, how is going to claim space? From where? Just tell me. Now I just connected to a database called TNS19DB. So that's this database now. Let's say my blue circle represents the TNS19D database, 19DB. That's the database name now. And I created an object. Now, from which out of these DBF files are there, redo files are there, control files? Now, you should have claimed some space from somewhere, no? Somewhere. From which one is going to claim this space? Yeah. Tell me. Which file? DBF or control or redo?
Did you mean where the record is stored?
Exactly. Same question. Yeah.
DB in DBF file.
Exactly. It's going to store in DBF file. Now, we will deep dive the question further. In which DBF file? That's the question. That's the next question. That we don't know still. I mean, it's too early for us to answer because still we haven't learned that much. Okay. Now let's try to get the second question. In which DBF file? Now, when I am creating this table, I just simply said create table. That's all. So I didn't mention in which DBF file, in which table is based, nothing. I just it's okay. I am connected to TNS 19DB. That's fine. But I didn't mention. Now, if I do that in that way, if I just create a table like this, what will happen? It will follow a concept called default table space. It will follow a concept called default table space. Let's write it here. Default table space. What is a default table space? Now I have connected as what is my user? Show user. I am in sys. Now in the database, for any user, I can mention default table space. Default table space. At the time of database creation, I can mention. If a user specifically is not mentioning in which table space this object should be created, then what's going to happen? Now table is object. It's a table, it's an object. If a user is not specifically mentioning, what's going to happen? Oracle will create it in a default table space. Normally, it is users. Okay, let's get that. I am going to type this query select table space underscore name from dba underscore table spaces. So these are my table spaces. These are my table spaces. Let's say like this also select name from $v data file. These are my data files. Now definitely you can understand the mapping. Users data file belongs to users table space. Only one DBF file. There can be more. There can be more, but in my database, it's small database for learning purpose. I have only one DBF file in users table space. This is the default one. I can check that one as well by querying the database properties, but normally the users one is the default one. So in that case, my table, since I didn't specify specifically to which table space, definitely is going to be get created in users table space. That's what's going to happen. So that means what? You should have allocated some space blocks from users DBF file. That's what's going to happen. That is what has happened at the moment. We can check everything. We can check everything. Okay, so before checking everything, let's do something like this. Okay, now I'm going to take you another step further. I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to say create, this is what I'm going to do, table space. Let's say test1, test1, create table space test1. I'm going to say data file, and I'm going to say something like this. And my data file name is test1.dbf closing quotes, and I am giving size 200 megabytes. Okay. Now Korean back this one. What has happened? A new table space has been there now. That is why I just created. I just created that one. And I am going to have a new data file. Got it? So what I did, now according to our graphic, here I have only users table space. So what I did, I just introduced a new one, a new table space I just introduced. And I just named it, I just gave the name, this one, test. That's all. Another table space, test. In that, how many dbf file I am in? Only one. It has test1.dbf, that's it. Whereas size is 200 MB. That is what I did. Got it? Any questions? Got the idea? Just created a new table space. Now let me do something like this. Now I am going to go back to my table creation. Go back to my table creation. Pasting it here. Okay. Yeah. Now let me just. Okay, these commands you will need. Let me just copy these ones as well, because I think let me just copy that. And while you are watching, if you are not doing the practical, also you can take a note on it, or else I will be sharing this one. No issues. I will be sharing this document for you. But if you want, you can write down whatever explanations I am making here. Yeah, I'm in Linux now, so I can't do it like that. So let me take a text document on Linux side. Linux, I think I can use Kwrite. Kwrite is a text editor on Linux, right? Let me use that. Yeah, that's fine. So I'll be sharing this document with the commands. Now what I want to do is this. Let me clear it now. What I want to do, I just want to create this table. Now where? Can anyone think what I'm going to do? If I try this, it will say name already exists. True, no, because it already been created. I'm going to go to the editor, ed, and I'm going to modify this, let's say emp11. I think 1 second, editor, ed, editing, insert mode 11. I'm going to make it 11. And further, I'm going to do one more change. Look at what I'm going to do. I'm going to say table space test. Test. Got it? I'm going to execute this command. Okay. Tell me what's wrong. What's the mistake we did? What it says? OR error. This is the way the Oracle is giving us the errors. OR error. Every error, Oracle has an error number. OR error. That's why, because for troubleshooting, that's the way it goes. It says table space test does not exist. Can anyone tell me what's wrong here?
So අපි හැදුවේ table space එක test 1 කියලානේ.
Test 1 kilo happy. So we can't be doing that. So let's correct it, create very simple test 1. Now, okay. Now what has happened? This object I specifically moved to where? To a table space called test 1. So when I insert records for that, it will start claiming data from which data file? I think it's very clear now, from this particular data file. So that is how it's going to work. Okay. Any questions you can ask? Very important to understand this storage concept, how Oracle is working. Now I'm just little by little I'm just explaining. I explain the block little bit. Now the table is space and the relationship between the objects and the table is space and how the space are claiming. Any questions you can ask?
So what's the meaning of commit command?
Commit, okay. Commit and rollback are two things. Commit means if I insert a record for a particular table, I need to confirm that data is 100% written to that particular table. Commit is confirming the record that is inserted permanently. Got it? So once I commit, I can't roll back. Roll back means before commit, I can undo it because I did a mistake. I don't want to insert the record. I can undo it so that I can use a command called rollback. Okay, let me show you that. This is what. Okay, let's try to insert a data. Insert. Oh, any commit in anywhere means the same thing. Okay, let me explain that. So insert into, okay, now this one is employee 10. No, come on, make the calling table like is okay. So I don't want to confirm it. So I can simply say rollback. Now if I say select star from, normal record to select EMP 10. So I have two records now. But now this one is committed, no? Previously I committed. Record come on. If I use this one, roll back, now see what happens. And if I try to select that one, see, it went back because I didn't confirm. I just roll back. Got it? But if I just reinsert again, and if I commit it, now I will have the record. It's claiming more space now because I'm inserting. Even if I roll back it now, let's say I'm trying to roll back, I want to revert. Now I can't revert because I have permanently inserted. So therefore, even though it's a rollback completed, but still both records will be there because I have made it permanent. That is the thing. Once I commit, it becomes permanent. I can't roll it back after that. Got the idea?
එතකොට අපි දැන් කමාන්ඩ් කීපයක් මේ කරාට පස්සේ රෝල් බෑක් කරොත් එතකොට ඒක කරපු ඔක්කොම යනවද?
Yeah, by default it's the way, because now let's say you want to insert 100 records and without any commit. එහෙම ගහගන්න ගියොත් මෙහෙම example එක ගන්න. So it goes in this way. Okay, හරි මෙතන නම් ගමුකෝ. Okay, fine. මෙතන yes. Now we want to insert, right? So let's say හරි මෙතන paste කරමු. Fine. You can paste it here. Now Linux පැත්තේ එක paste වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Okay. I am going to insert record 1 ඔය විදිහට දානවා. දාගෙන යනවා. 2 3 and I am not going to commit it and I am going to continue to insert record number 2 3 4 like that. ඔහොම දාන්න. Commit නැහැ. So this is my insert 2, this is my insert 3, this is my 4 likewise. ගිහිල්ලා අන්තිමට තමයි commit එකක් දෙන්නේ. Then what happens? Everything gets committed. Got it? Whereas I can give commits one by one as well. Commit. මෙතනක් commit එකක් ගහනවා. යටත් එකක් ගහනවා. එතකොට record by record commit වෙනවා. And if I come here without putting a commit, I'm going to put a rollback here. එතකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? යා මේ රෙකෝඩ් එක already committed නේ. මේක roll back කරනවා. එතනින් පල්ලෙහා තමයි move කරලා නැහැ. ඒ commit එක තමයි පල්ලෙහා ඉන්නේ. එතන නෑ තේරෙනවා got the idea.
Can't you select a specific record to roll back?
You can. ඒක තමයි නේද මේක තේරුණා නේද? ඒකට එහෙම කියන්න. මම මෙහෙම එකක් define. මම මෙතන එලා ගහනවා save point කියලා. save point 1 කියලා එකක් දෙනවා. save point 1. Okay. Now I am coming back here and I am committing here. I am committing here, but later I identified I have done a mistake with record number 3 and 4. I want to roll back. Having committed, I want to roll back. Then I can say roll back to save point 1. That is possible. Those things are possible. I have to keep intermediate save points. Then it's possible. Those techniques are there.
ඒකට සේව් පොයින්ට් තියන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම නැතුව අර මේ මොකක් හරි කමාන්ඩ් එකක් නැද්ද එකපාරක් වගේ රෝල් බෑක් විතරක් කරන එකක් වගේ. කියන එක කමාන්ඩ් එකක් වැරදුනොත් මොකක් හරි මේ ඔප්ෂන් එකක් නැද්ද?
ඔයා කියන්නේ
ඒ
insert
කියන්නේ
එක
අර අන්ඩු වගේ ඔප්ෂන් තියෙන්නේ මේ දැන් වර්ඩ් වල එකපාරක් පස්සට යන්නේ ඒ වගේ මං අහන්නේ මේ ඔරකල් වලත් එහෙම තියෙද කියලා ඔප්ෂන් එක.
පුළුවන්. You have options. There are advanced options. We can flashback. Commands are there. ඔක්කොම පුළුවන් කරන්න Oracle Database නම් කරන්න බෑ flashback යන්නේ තේ නෑ. There is option called flashback. හරි මම කියන්නේ මම ඉස්සෙල්ලා කිව්වේ these are the basic commits and rollbacks I am just mentioning. These are basic. If you want to do what you are asking, in Oracle we have a feature known as flashback database. Flashback DB. Make introduce करे 10G වල. So with flashback you can do flashback based on a SCN. අපි તો SCN එක දැන් කිව්වේ නැහැ. Based on a record number, based on a time. Flashback කරන්න පුළුවන්. Time එකත් ආපස්සට ගන්න පුළුවන්. And SCN number කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා. Now this SCN means is identify a transaction uniquely. ඒ කියනවා SCN එකක් assign SCN එකක් means even for a insert it assign SCN, even for update is assign SCN, even for a select is assign SCN. You can do this a unique number to identify a transaction within a database, atomic transaction. You can flash it back. And not only flashback is not only at table level. If you want, you can flash back the whole database also. Oracle features තියෙනවා. මේකට අපි කියනවා rewind database කියලා. database එක rewind කරන්න පුළුවන්. අනිත් පැත්තට යන්න පුළුවන්. rewind DB. Those advanced features are there. Got it? කරන්න බැරි නෑ පුළුවන්. Yeah.
සර් මේ ඒතකොට SCN එක මේ ඔටෝමැටිකලි මේ assign වෙන එකද?
Exactly. SCN එක automatically assign වෙනවා. For every transaction it assigns SCN and we can identify what is the current SCN per database. ගන්න පුළුවන්. You can take it. ඒක recover කරන්න පුළුවන් rollback නෙමෙයි flashback. SCN එක අපි ගන්න rollback එකට flashback. Not only that, even if you drop a table in Oracle mistakenly, you can flash back the table and you can get the table back. We are those features with difficult in other databases.
ඒකට ඒවා save වෙන log එකේද?
No, there's something called flashback archive කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා. Flashback. So that is by default it is on for tables because Oracle database we need to switch to the mode called flashback mode if you want to flashback the whole database. But by default for table level, object levels, flashback is enabled. It is doing that in combination with undo table space. Undo table space කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා. අර අපි දැක්කේ. මෙතන දකින්නද ඔයගොල්ලන්. මෙතන undo කියලා එකක් දකින්නද? මෙතන. It is doing it by default in combination with undo. But if you want to apply the feature for the whole database, then we have to enable flashback archive. කියන එක enable කරන්න ඕනේ. Default flashback mode එකේ නෙමෙයි database එක දුවන්නේ. හරි. අදහසක් ආවද මොකද්ද කියලා?
සර් මේ ෆ්ලෑෂ්බැක් මේ මොඩ් එක මේ දැන් අපි ඔන් නොකර ඩේටාබේස් එක මේක වැඩ කරලා ඊට පස්සේ අවශ්‍ය වෙලාවට විතරද ඔන් කරන්න ඕන?
It's like this එකත් එක්ක සෙල්ලම් කරන්න අමාරුයි, right? Because flashback mode now for example අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන් මෙහෙම. Describe v $, database. Now make a column එකක් තියෙනවා. මේ තියෙන flashback on කියලා. Here we have. At the moment select, if I take flashback on from $database, no කියලා එන්නේ. ඔක off තියෙන. That's why I mentioned. By default it is off. So you need to shut down, put it to mount. First of all, you need to run a database in mode called archive log mode. Archive log list command එක ගැහුවොත් by default again database is in no archive log mode. Make a learning database and enable karna. But in the production we have to enable those things. So step number 1, we need to enable database in no archive log mode. Then we need to enable it flashback. Now I have a prashna. Let's say the mistake has happened and you want to enable flashback, but that don't answer for the history. But the mistake which has happened in the past, flashback can't guarantee. But it's like this. If the mistake is at table level, anything by default it is on. No. So I'm talking about a mistake at a bigger level. Again, the mistake has happened for entire table space. Scope lokui. Then I mean by default you can't do it. Then you need to maintain database in flashback mode. Because with the flashback mode, Oracle will start create something called FLB files. Flashback files .flb files. So these flashback files with archive logs, .archive files, it will maintain those changes. What has happened in the history in order to rewind the database if requires. Production order features. Idea kaane? Or but I think for the time being you got the idea. Great. You need to understand those features in Oracle database. Okay, great. Right. So now actually I hope you got the idea about table space, then it's claiming space from the relevant table space. That is all. Let's continue. Now what we did, we just created another table space called test1 and we just put a table there and we just insert a record as well. Now that means we allocated some blocks from test1 table space. That is what we did. And from the test1 DBF file. Now what about these things? What's going to happen? Block is the smallest unit, no. But you can't just allocate a block. Block must be belong to extent. Extent must be belong to a segment. Segment must be belong to a table space. Table space must be belong to database. That is how the hierarchy goes. For each block that has been allocated, just because the insert command that I did links with the extent and a segment and a table space. That is how it goes. So I can check all the details by DBA views. DBA views. I can say, for example, I have describe DBA extents. That will give my extent details. And I have similarly described DBA segments. DBA segments. That will give my segment details. Now, for example, my table, I just created a table called earlier table. We just created the table called EMP 10 and 11. No. If I want to find the segments for that, very easy. Now from DBA segments, I can check it because whenever I create a table, it creates a segment name with the table name. With the table name. Okay, let me say, I'm going to say select segment name underscore name from DBA underscore segments where, let's say segment name. I'm just taking only the segment name. That's okay. I can get the table name as well. Where segment name equal, what is my, in capital, since I'm using equal capital. So this is the segment name. It creates on behalf of my EMP10 table because within this the extents are there, within this the blocks are there. So that is how the hierarchy goes. Did you get the understanding to go to the next step? ඒක තේරුණා නම් කියන්න තව ප්‍රශ්න දෙනවා අහන්න. මේ hierarchy you have to understand. Okay. Okay, no questions means hope is clear. Let's go to the next step. Now, here, තව මොකක්ද එකක් කියලා තියෙනවා. Right. Okay, let me just go down, take down. මේ මොකද්ද මේ? DB objects. Now I mentioned table also object. We have other things. What are the DB of database objects? Indexes, synonyms, views, procedures. Triggers, functions, packages, many object types are there. We just created only a table. Now, there is another concept called schema. Schema in Oracle database. What is a schema? A schema is nothing but set of objects. Set of objects belongs to a user. That's it. Set of objects belongs to a user. Now, what are the objects? Meaning tables, indexes, synonyms, procedures. All are objects. Oracle cannot have any object without belonging to a schema. We have to have the schema. The schema directly relates to the user. Now let's say, for example, now I just created a table called, now what is my user? Here my user is what? Slow user. Always I am using sys, which is not recommended actually, because in production we use sys only for database administration. For normal table creation and all, we never use sys because there are other users. Down level user, this is the super user, no? We don't use that. But that's also a schema. This is also a schema. Now all my object science is this schema, which is not recommended because this is the owner of the database. It has its own internal tables. Kernel tables to maintain the database itself. So we should have a separate user in order to occupy our customized objects. Then what happens? Whenever I create a user, let's say I'm going to create a user called user1. Whenever I create a user, the relevant schema get initiated. It will wait till the first object claims the space. Tarimum Oracle 12c database, just because you create a user, it don't create the schema. It will wait the user to create the first object like table and insert a record, then it claims the space, then only it allocates the schema. That's what's going to happen. So that means what? In Oracle database, there's a direct relationship between the user and the schema. When the user gets created with the same name, the schema gets created. That's what's going to happen. So create user, user1 means what? There will be a schema called user1. That's what's going to happen. And within the user1 schema, all the objects belongs to user1 will be located. That's what's going to happen. And those objects, as per the understanding we have up to now, are located where? Inside table spaces. That is what's going to happen. That means within the DBF files. Any questions? Practical before doing the practical. So that's the very first reason in Oracle database, we don't create databases per application. We create schemas per application. Now in a banking application, we have a credit application, debit application, savings account application, whatever other loans application. For each application, we will have a separate schema within the same database. That's what's going to happen. Whereas in SQL Server database and all, we might have separate databases for each application, but that concept is not there in Oracle. So that's another reason why we are telling in Oracle per server, we don't have multiple databases. We have only one database. Within that, we have many schemas. That is how it's going to work. Sorry? Okay, let's do a practical about this. I'm going to do something like this. Let me clear this. Yes, yeah, I think these commands I paste it in this and share it to you. I'm going to do something like this. Create user. Okay, let's say user1. User1. identified by password ABC. ඔය ඇතිද user හදන්න? හරියන්නේ නැහැ. ඔම හදන්න පුළුවන්. We can stop here. Put a semicolon. User හැදේ, but that's not going to work. Let's enhance it further. Create table user 195 password මම තව මෙහෙම දේවල් කියනවා. Default table space. test1. තවත් කියමු. quota 10m on test1. 10m on test1. Okay. Let's say password expire. Okay. User created. Now what did I do? Can anyone try to explain me? Can anyone explain me what happened here? Yeah.
User one is created and assigned to table space test1.
Correct. itu ටික. ඒක දන්නේ නැහැ නේ. quota එක දාලා.
No, but quota and password expire. It didn't mention about the password.
Okay, no problem. Good attempt. At least the knowledge that you got, you reflected. You self-reflected on what you learned. ඒක හොඳ දෙයක්. ඉගෙන ගත්ත දේ කිව්වා අර අලුත් දේවල්නේ. Let's learn it. Okay.
කෝට එක කියන්නේ මේ මොකක්ද? test1 table space එක ඇතුලේ එයාට දෙන කියන්නේ size එකද?
quota කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් එහෙමනේ. So it's the same meaning. So amount of megabytes or the space that we are allocating on behalf of that user objects, that's what we do. Quota. I'm restricting it. I can say quota unlimited, but this time I restricted it and told only 10 megabytes is allowed in test1. That's what I did. Okay. And password expire, nothing much. I gave the password, no, ABC, not a good practice, but just for testing, I just gave a password. We need to give a strong password. Now in Oracle database, it doesn't accept even the 8-character password, 12 characters only. Security, we need to give 12 characters and don't have to be complex password. Underscore, capital letters, has to be a complex password. Now, and by default now here is testing and learning environment, I have enabled those features. In production, we are enabling those things. Once it enabled, I won't be able to give ABC password in the back. Production database, those are security concerns. Okay. Now, password expire means what? At the first login, change the password. That's what. Windows or first login, you change the password. That is what my password expire. Okay, let's continue now. Now,
So quota 10m කියන්නේ එතකොට යට මේ data දාන්න පුළුවන් පොරම 10 MB ද කියන්නේ database එකට record දාන්න පුළුවන් ඒකද?
Exactly. Now here he is allowed to work in test1, no? So in test1 maximum 10 megabytes I am giving. එතකොට blocks වලින් multiply කරලා ගත්තොත් අර 8k ඒවා වැඩි කරලා උඩරම 10 MB තමයි. That's all. Okay. That is the max. තව විදිහකින් කියනවා නම් then what's going to happen? The user one is going to be the schema name as well, no? So that particular schema I am limiting to test1. That schema can work only within this test1. සම්පූර්ණයෙන් වැඩ කරන්න බෑ. megabyte 10යි. So I am just putting a small circle. I am just restricting him to a small bubble and putting him, okay, this is your schema. You work only within 10M and you work only within test table space. That's all. That is I am restricting you there. I can control like that schema. Got it?
and table space එකට assign කරේ නැත්නම් මොකද වෙන්නේ? එහෙම assign නොකර මේකෙන් පුළුවන්ද?
Exactly. That's a very good question. Default table space I mentioned here, no? There is something called at the time of database creation, I can mention a default table space. That is possible. Database හදද්දි කියන්න පුළුවන්. Now here what I have mentioned, when I am creating the user, I am mentioning the default table space. So මොකද වෙන්නේ? අර database එකේ දුන්න default එක override වෙනවා මෙතනින්. Because at the time of user creation I am telling. example like you was at the time of database creation, DB creation time, I can tell for all the users in the database, all database users, default table space is example. Example again, table space. Okay, that is the default. So any user by default will get assigned to this. But create user test one. මෙයා හදද්දි මං කියනවා නෑ ඔයා මේ example නෙමේ. I want him to be in default table space users. I am removing him from this database wide default and I am just locally putting him to at the time of user creation to another table space. This is what I have done here. My default table space is user 1. මේ කරලා දෙන්නේ ඒක. මම එයා කියනවා නෑ you are not in user 1. You have to be in test 1. Got it?
Yes, sir.
So එයා objects හදන යන්නේ ඔක්කොම එතෙන්ද. අරකට යන්නේ නැහැ. Right. Now I want him to connect. නිකම්ම connect කරන්න බෑ. අපි තව වැඩ ටිකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ ටිකක් කරලා දාමු. Let's connect this user and try to create an object and see and we proceed how the schema gets created. Now for him to connect, just watch, I am just giving privileges, grant create session to user 1. Okay, අර session එකක් හදන්න කියලා අපි තව okay වෙනවද කමන්නේ. And I am telling grant එක සැරේ දෙන්න පුළුවන් මට බෑන් just for simplifying I am just doing it grant create table to user 1. Okay. So I gave him 2 privileges.
So yes.
Yeah, mistake. Grant create table to user 1. Okay, right. Now he can create a session. අපි තාම මේක ඉගෙනගෙන නැහැ. මේක අද කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒකයි මම මේකට තමයි මේ යන්නේ මේ වටපිටාව හදාගෙන. So what is a session? Session means the place that you are typing your command. දැන් මම ඉන්නේ මේ session එකක. This is I am in sys session. Show user. I am in sys session. This is session එක. There is an editor where you are working at the moment session. So before doing anything, user has to establish a connection. No? So establishing a connection will enable your session. Session is just a communication path between the user and the whatever your application, end application. Now I am using SQL plus. So this is SQL plus my interface and I am interacting with my database. That is my session. So what I am telling, I am giving privileges for him to create the session. It is a must. This is a total new user. No? So I am giving that privilege. Not only that, I am giving create table privilege. Then connect connect how the user user 1. Okay, I am going to connect him. Password ABC. Password expired. Why? Because I have mentioned password expired. Okay, let's say ABC1. ABC1. Okay, password change. Connected. Show user 1. Got it? User connect. But as I mentioned, his schema has not been created yet with the name user 1 because there are no objects belongs to this particular user. Then he should create a table like this. Create table. T1. Let's put a small table, n number, and like that. Okay. And it should insert a record. Still schema has not get created, but insert into T1 values 1 and commit. So let's insert into T1 mistake. VALU yes, within bracket 1 commit, make it confirm. Now its schema will get created. Schema. But you can't just see the schema, we can see the user. User and all the objects belongs to the user. Now this fellow will have select star from tab. Tab will give the set of objects belongs to the current user. He is having T1 only table type එක යා කියනවා ඒක date type එක table එකක් කියලා. That's all. That's the current user. So now his schema get created because there's only one object in his schema. So I can create indexes and also keep on growing the schema. And but the problem is this fellow cannot go beyond how many? 10 MB. Restriction has been applied. He can do select, doesn't matter. Select doesn't claim space, no. Just weave in. But if you want to, when you keep on inserting data, once it jump, you create more objects, create 10 to 15 objects with data insertions, it will jump this value, then you can't. Then what you need to do? Okay, let's keep that session. Let me open another session from right hand side. Okay, now I am opening another terminal, another session. PNSDB money. Okay, yeah, I think that's one. Let me connect as sys here. Sys PDA. Because I can't operate this user, he doesn't have privileges, no. Now to operate this user, to grant privileges and do anything, I need to have a DBA user. So that's why I'm opening another session. So I have opened like assist. This is a DB user. Now this fellow can't do. Now, for example, if I run this command, I want to, now what I'm going to do, I want to give him more privileges. 10 MB 20 Now, if I try under him, it will fail. So I am telling alt user, user 1, quota 20M on test 1. So this operation will fail. Insufficient privileges. That's what I mentioned. There has to be a DB user, privileged user connect on. So it has to be either user with database administration privileges or SysO system. SysO system can do it because those are super users, no? Especially this is a super user. System is just below him, but both are DBA users. Okay. So therefore, I am coming back here. I am going to increase this quota from this place. So now I increase this quota. But one thing to notice is still on test 1. Make it test 1 still he can work only on test 1 table space. I increase quota, that's true, but only in there. Now, I want him to make on this table space as well. Currently, he can work on test. I want him to I want him to give the enability to work on user table space as well. ඒකෙත් වැඩ කරන්න allow කරන්න ඕන. මොකද කරන්නේ? කියන්න බා.
What will happen if we change the default to users?
That is just an attempt, but it won't work. Even in the default table space, මම උත්තරේ දෙනවා දැන් මෙහෙම කිව්වම එයාට quota තියෙන්න ඕන. Quota නැත්තම් වැඩ කරන්න බෑ. So what you have to do, when it's a good attempt, what you have to do, උත්තරේ කියන්නම් මෙන්න මේක කරන්න. Alt user අත් copy කරගමු උඩදී. දැන් නම් තේරෙනවා නේද මම කරන්න යන දේ. 20 by නම් ඕන ගානක් කමන්නේ නැහැ. Okay, users. Alright. Now that particular schema expanded to this table space as well. Schema it's widening within the database. So quota will control that. Got the idea? Now he will be able to create a table අපි කියමු මෙන්න මේ වගේ එකක් අපිට ඉස්සෙල්ලා ඔක ටෙස්ට් කරලා බලන්න තිබ්බයි. මම මේක ටෙස්ට් කරන්න වෙන විදිහට ඉන්නු. Table, I can say table displays uses. ඉතින් මේක තියෙනවා. Right. Has to be a unique thing, no unique name. Got it. Okay. Created. In users, not in test. මෙහෙම එකක් කරනවා බලන්න. This is what I'm going to do. Just watch. මේ මොකක්ද මේ කරන්නේ? කාටද කියන්න පුළුවන්ද? පුළුවන් කියන්න මොකක්ද ඒකද?
Create table T2 in table space users.
Yeah, that's what. But my right hand side again, what is here? Old user quota 0 kara.
කොට එක අයින් කරා.
Yeah. Now see what happens. Table එක හැදුනා, but I have already removed it. Let's try this. I'm going to do table got created. Insert. Or මොකද වෙන්නේ කියලා? SCRT insert into T3 values 1. This is what happens. Definition is allowed. That's what I mentioned earlier. For the definition, it doesn't claim space from the relevant table space. ඒක data dictionary කියලා තැනක් තියෙනවා. එතනින් තමයි space claim කරන්නේ. But when I try to claim space by inserting records, right, blocked. If I again allow him quota, allowing the schema to expand and try out this, now it should work. Okay, that is what happens. Any questions? Got the idea? Now my practicals ඔයගොල්ලෝ කරන්න වෙනවා. Because I share this all the commands. You have to do it. Otherwise, just watching sometimes may not comprehend everything. It's good that you are asking questions and learning, but කරලම් බලන්න. Any questions? Got the idea?
So in MySQL database, when we integrate it with in a web application, we can have a connection string. So in Oracle also is same.
Possible. Connecting is possible. When you want to establish this is a graphical interface known as SQL developer. Connection type, we can go for connect string. Within a service name, that is a connect string. You can give connect string here. JDBZ or whatever the driver, SQL driver, ODBZ or whatever the driver, you can do that. Connect string, yes, possible. මොකක්ද SQL admin එකද පාවිච්චි කරන MySQL වල connect වෙන්න? MySQL admin.
අපි MySQL SAMP එකෙන් start කළා කියන්නේ MySQL එක කරන්නේ.
okay.
අපි එල connection string එක අපි අර හදා ගන්නවානේ අර ඒ කියන්නේ type එක ඒ කියන්නේ node.js වල එක විදිහක් PHP වල තව විදිහක් කියවනේ පොඩ්ඩක්.
Okay.
ලොකු වෙනසකුත් නැහැ මේ.
Connect string is the same in everywhere. ඒක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Yeah, that's true. Okay, now hope you got the idea, and I just want to explain this whole concept of storage hierarchy, schema, and the quota and the user or relationship එක ගැන තමයි මම මේ කතා කරේ මේ ටික, and the objects, database object relationship. ඒ ටික තේරුණා නම් got it. What you need to understand is this: what is a schema and how it relates to the user, and when the user is claiming space, how the storage is working. By means of extend, segments, blocks, ඒවා allocate වෙන්නේ කොහොමද? අන්නේ basics එක ගත්තත් නැති. ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා? Okay. Right. Having said that, let's go to our architecture. Okay. We have only 30 minutes. Shall I demonstrate that other practical then? Okay, let me just demonstrate now. Since we did the practical, let me continue the same pattern. I will just show you in cloud environment, how you going to spin up a database in Oracle Cloud and connecting from on-premise. Okay, let me just go to switch into Oracle Cloud. I think, yeah. Okay, so I am in Oracle Cloud. Let me go to the Oracle. Yeah, this is the home page. Okay, so this is oracle.com cloud. Just oracle.com will take you to there, and do a login. I think I have mentioned this on the very first day, and even the explanation, the series Oracle Carrier will also has explained these things. So we need to sign into cloud, not to the normal account. Now this is a Oracle Technology Network account. Cloud. So you need to have a free tier account. So sign into, it's a free account. You can just sign up for that one. Sign into cloud. And I have this one. I said just next. Oracle Cloud. Screen I must switch. You can see, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. And sign into cloud. I am just continuing. මෙතන තමයි username password එක ගහන්න වෙන්නේ. මේක cache කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. කරන්න පුළුවන් ඕනම් but so this is the Oracle Cloud. I show you the Azure Cloud I think on the second day or first day. So this is the normal interface in Oracle Cloud. Now may I free tier interface. This is the interface for free tier. But it's okay in the paid cloud. There are some advanced options, additional environment paid dollar. But this is okay. This is also somewhat similar, but make a console directly. There's something called cloud console, which is not accessible 100% here, but it's okay. So, and what you can do, let's not experiment the Oracle Cloud at the moment. Let's try to achieve our objective. Let's try to create a database here. Okay, database. Now in Oracle Cloud, I think I have explained this one earlier as well. We have OLTP database, that is known as ATP, Autonomous Transaction Processing Database, ATP. Because this is Oracle Gen 2 Autonomous Cloud, no, Oracle Generation 2 Autonomous Cloud. That is where I am in at the moment. Autonomous. Autonomous anyone can reflect on that, but it's Autonomous Cloud. Oracle is the only autonomous cloud at the moment in the world. Humanless operations, automate name, autonomous, right? Robots. Now, I tell you a feature. Now, for example, if you want to tune up a database, now for query optimization, if the queries are getting slow, this fellow will automatically handle those things. I'll tell you one example like this. Let's say you have an idea of the database files, no? You know what is a DBF file, no? Now, let's say due to some disk problem, like in on-premise, disk crash problem, DBF file becomes inaccessible. DBF file becomes inaccessible. What is now in on-premise, DB has to do manual works, no? Backup, restore, recover. But in autonomous cloud, what will happen? Using AI and ML, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all in, this fellow will detect this one automatically, auto detect. How? He will capture that byte pattern change. Something has gone wrong. Byte pattern because it's a crash, not an irregular byte pattern. Normal pattern. And he will initiate recovery for that automatically. So this is the one feature in autonomous cloud. That's what is autonomous, humanless operations. Got it? Now in autonomous cloud, we have autonomous transaction processing තව warehouse එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේ categories තියෙනවා. Warehouse. We have data warehouse. Okay. Right. So let's switch to the cloud. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to spin up a ATB, transaction processing database. දැන් මේ free tier එකේ ඉන්නේ cost පෙන්නේ නැහැ. මේ ගිය ගමන් පෙන්නනවා. You can see always free tier. I just went down a bit, and because I want to launch resources. So under launch resources, we have virtual machines. I may remember in Amazon we launched a virtual machine. මේකෙත් ඒ විදිහම තමයි. Sure එකෙත් ඕගොල්ලෝ කරලා ඇති. But this time we are not going to launch a virtual machine. We want to launch a database right away. Then create ATP, and it clearly says PT eligible, so no harm. මේ ඔක්කොම ගොඩාක් ඒවා PT එකම දෙන්නේ. Oracle has a lot of free things. So click here, create a ATP database. These are the options here. Now this is the concept of compartment. That's why our podi now AWS cloud, they don't have something called compartment. They have this region and those concepts are there. But Oracle has a compartment. Compartment is nothing but just a separation of storage. The cloud storage allocate karan. Because now you saw the storage hierarchy in here. Our local environment we saw the storage hierarchy. No, we had those blocks, and this concept was there now, block extend segments and all. So in cloud also there is a way how to handle this storage. So compartment is there. So by default, it selects my user as the compartment name. So I'm not going to change it because in free tier we cannot create new compartment. So therefore this is okay to be there. Display name. Now this is the database name. Database name. I can give any name, doesn't matter. So this is the default name. Display name. අපි මේක ගහමු. දාමු DB learning 1 කියලා මොකක් කරේ ගහමු. DB L2 හරි මොකක් කරේ. Let's say L2 DB L2. And display name, database name එකත් ඒකම තමයි. DB. You can change it, but there's no point. L2. Okay. So I'm just giving the database name. And then the selection. So by default, you can see these are database types available at the moment in the cloud. Database types. We don't know JSON, FX, because for text data and those processing and modeling category. Now, mainly we are talking about these two, warehousing and transaction processing. Now you can see by default ATP, transaction processing is selected. Autonomous transaction processing, that is very selected. So let the default be. And I have to use shared infrastructure. Because dedicated gear, it's a cost involvement. Because why? What do you mean by dedicated? I want specific reserved storage in the cloud. Right? Shared public cloud. I don't want to go here because it can cost me. And again, the option is there, configure database, always free tier. I can click here, then what will happen? I am moving away from free tier, then it will give me a lot of options, but it can cost me. Getting tag account upgrade. Right? So you better not go there, but it's like this now. These options, if I click here, this will get disabled. You see, it will get enabled. CPU count, storage, those things will get enabled if I get out from the free tier. Always free tier, they make a default now. OCPU means what? Now machine resources. The number of processors. Oracle says Oracle. So how many CPUs, how many cores, processing power of the machine. I can increase and decrease, but the free tier, it will give me only one. Make it 0.2 terabyte. So it's giving that much. So that is okay. So that is more than enough for testing. And auto scaling, but we are not going to enable. I mean, depending on the load for the machine, it can increase the number of CPUs, it can decrease, scaling up and scaling down. So we are not going to touch those things on the free tier. Our purpose is here to create the ATP, launch the ATP database, and how to connect from on-premise. But I'm just explaining these options and the admin account. Now in on-premise, you may remember we use sys and system user. So in cloud, we have a common account called admin. Eකට password එකක් අපි දාමු. මෙතන 12 letters එකක් තමයි දාන්න ඕනේ. නැත්නම් දෙන්නේ නැහැ. Security. 8 letters දෙන්නේ නැහැ. And 1 2 3 ABC දාන්න බෑ. @ underscore ඔක්කොම තියෙන එකක් දාන්න ඕනේ. Got it? Any questions? Explain and choose network type. So we are going to be in the secure access form from everywhere. And there are categories, Oracle, VCNs, virtual cloud networks, but let's not touch those things. Leave the default and required TLS, MTLS authentication, transfer layer security, mutual transfer layer security. These are for, authentication between microservices and containerization. With service mesh and all, the service discovery and all. So let's not touch there, leave it as it is. But for you to learn always now when you work in here, terms, Google, right? So that is the best thing to learn. Best way to learn. Now this is a very important concept. MTLS, TLS. We have this HTTP and HTTPS. No, HTTP authentication, secure authentication. After that only this TLS and MTLS came. So MTLS is one of the latest authentication techniques. Very powerful. Well, okay. So and choose bring your own license. BYOL. Bring your own license means if you have existing license on premise. Like the organization on premise, they are running enterprise edition. They want to migrate to cloud. I license so that is a bring your own license. You are going to utilize your existing license on premise. I license only. But in this case, we are going to use license included, but free tier, no charges. Got it? Contact email, you can give any mail, that's okay. I'm not going to give anything there. And advanced options, and it says the encryption mechanism for security and maintenance and all. So let's not worry about those tagging and all. Leave it behind. And those are the options we need to have a very basic autonomous database up and running. Any questions? Make a not to deep dive anything here, but you need to get the understanding what is happening here. Oracle cloud account නැද්ද කාටවත් නැහැ. එක්කෙනෙක්වත් නැද්ද දැන්?
මගේ තියෙනවා සර්.
great. ඔය තියෙන්නේ. free තියෙන්නේ. හද අනිත් පැත්ත එහෙමෙන් try කරන්න. හදලා බලන්න. මේක this does not charge you, it's free. Okay, now let's try it out. And I'm going to click here, create autonomous database. It will initiate creation. Within seconds it will create. Very fast. ATP, provisioning in progress. And this is my name, DBL2, free tier, and it gives me the information. Backup network, I didn't specify. Let's talk about those things later. MTL is done with access control is ACL, nothing. Apex instance, these are different things with Oracle. So it's provisioning a 19C database. That is there. Using cloud, the lowest version is 19C. We don't have 12C and 18C one. 19C at 20 GB storage and OCPU scaling disabled. We notice that one. This is not available in pre-tier. CPU counter okay. So if I just click refresh, by now it should have created. But I just refresh it. Okay, done. Within seconds, very fast. ATP available. Database is available for me. Got it. So now we have we have the consoles and everything. The basic console is there even in pre-tier. If I click here, it will give me options to manage the database. The database CPU utilization, storage utilization, all graphics are here. And again, activities, what is happening as of now, we can take a look at it. So at the moment, there is no activity there because it's empty database and administration. So a lot of options are there. So let's not experiment those things now. And for development, if you want to do programming, interfaces, right away you can launch with the latest SODA and drivers and all. And database actions, RESTful, a lot of things are there. All latest technology. Got it. So let's go back here and yeah. Yes, so data overview. I think it's moving to a new tab. So let me come back to, let's close this and we'll get back. Right. So, and we have this performance hub also. It will give you the database performance graphics. So this is as of now, there's some internal work. So I can just select here. So this tab is you can drag like that and you can move like that. So at the moment you can see some kind of internal workload is here. So when I move the tab to there, it will reflect the workload from the bottom. මොකද වෙන්නේ කියලා පෙන්නනවා. මේ tab එක මෙහාට ගත්තාම මේක නැති වෙනවා මොකද there's no workload here. This is goes with the time and this is in US time. And so because I went to India, South Hyderabad. Anyway, let's not worry about that. And so select here and it will show me the workload like this. Yeah, penna. Not only that, I can monitor the SQLs, everything I can monitor graphically. Options here on a product method. This is, I just select performance hub. SQL, so you can see SQL monitoring. What are the SQLs running at the moment? There is nothing. We have to put a low workload. And automatic diagnosing and detecting, ADDM is that is to troubleshoot the database. If something goes wrong, automatically it will tell you what's happening. And those things, and workload, blocking sessions, if users are conflicting on updates and commits. So everything is here. Now the first time only we are seeing graphics, but this is cloud. On-premise also, without cloud, Oracle has GUI console, like cloud console, grid control, this is on cloud. Great. Now we launched the database. Now it is up and running. And then make a do no. Okay, we can go to this left-hand side and databases within autonomous database. At the moment, it is available for me. Now, how we are going to connect? We are connect in the on-premise. Now we can connect from SQL first, no problem. Even we GUI because we did up to now we have done all the things manually commands. So let's try to use a tool called SQL Developer. SQL Developer. So this is pre-downloadable. I have download SQL Developer exe in Windows, and you can just Google it. Very simple. SQL Developer. It is available free with Oracle. And no installation. Sorry.
We have downloaded it with our demonstrator previously.
Yeah, great. Yeah, there was an email chain. Yeah, that's great. So it's freely available. So now it's just a matter of making the connection. Very easy. And what we need to do, there's one more step we need to do here, the wallet. We need the wallet. Wallet is here. Let me just check autonomous database. Yeah, we go here. Overview. We need to download the wallet. Yeah. So where is the autonomous database? Is here. And if I click here, it should take me to there. Okay, now I'm in the right place. Until you get familiar, there is maybe kind of new, but as soon as you get familiar, very easy. Oracle is such a user-friendly environment, much user-friendly than AWS, but it's going closer with Azure and Google. Google is much user-friendly environment, but this is much better than AWS. Okay, I'm clicking DB connection. This is where the wallet comes. Wallet is nothing but a security authentication method. We don't do password authentication here. We do wallet-based authentication. Security, highly secure method way of connecting. And I need to download this wallet. Download wallet, and I need to give a password for the wallet because no one should be able to access my wallet without the password. That's why I'm protecting it with password. Wallet is something like that. Okay, let me just give a password for this one. Again, it has to be a complex password. Okay, I'm downloading it, so it will get downloaded. DBL2. Right? Now, very simple. Go here, SQL Developer. Click plus sign just to make a new connection. Click plus. And my database name, any name. There's a chat. What is that? Is Oracle wallet like cryptocurrency wallet? Yeah, it goes closer. Cryptocurrency is one of the powerful, I mean, in financial, they are using this to handle transactions, financial transactions. So yes, it is somewhat equal. Yes, that's true, cryptocurrency. We have this one of the world leading financial lending technique, cryptocurrency. There are other things, right? Okay. All right. So name, let me give DBL2, and that is my database name, but just a name. I mean, it no need to be the same name because connection happens via wallet. And my password, I need to give username is admin. You may remember we gave the name admin. That's the default admin account for Oracle Autonomous Database, and I had to give my password. Now here comes the trick. මෙතන කොහොමද connect කරන්නේ? Now here we have a lot of options on, and one of you mentioned the connect string as well. ඒ මොකක්වත් කරන්නේ නැහැ. We just select right away the easiest method, cloud wallet. That's the way. Select cloud wallet and you browse and give your wallet. The wallet was downloaded, no? Select your wallet. What is my wallet? DBL2. Open it. And here just services, leave it, doesn't matter. There are ways to load balance the Oracle database based on resource usage. Then high, low here, those are the ways. For example, if it is high, it will give me more processing power. Likewise, so that's the explanation. And again, don't worry, these all steps are explained here. I will share this link for you in the documentation. Using Oracle Autonomous Database, shared Exadata infrastructure, provisioning a database. Step by step make it here. I make follow step. But the only thing is, this doesn't tell you how to connect to SQL developer. Now, but it's creating database and everything is well explained here. I will share this link for you. Autonomous Oracle documentation. Okay, now I'm going to select this one, high, whatever, doesn't matter, and my wallet is selected. So just test it. We will test it. Should get success. Yes, no issues. Success. And just to connect, we can connect. It should open my new window. Now these are existing windows. It should open a new, yeah, DBL2. But the only thing is this. Now, how do we, can anyone recall, how do you check the database name? Database nama check kare kohomada api? Can anyone recall the command? Select. Can mataka? Select. Yeah. You can cover practical කරන්න අහගෙන ඉඳලා විතරයි. Select name from මතක් වෙන්නේ නැද්ද? V dollar මොකක්ද?
V dollar database.
නේ කියන්නේ V dollar database. හරි. දැන් මේක ගහපුවාම you may wonder what's happening. Select name from V dollar database. Now what it should say? අපි නම දුන්නේ DBL2 කියලානේ. මෙන්න 아무තු එකක් කියනවා. මේ පොඩක්
So dollar mark.
Yeah. Dollar mark missing. Dynamic performance views here. මේ කියන්නේ අපි මෙහෙම නමක් දුන්නාද? We gave a name like this මේ අමුතු නමක් කියනවා. අපි දුන්නේ ඕක නෙමෙයි. We gave DBL2 or something, right? Anyone can tell me why is that? Anyone? අමාරු වෙයි කියන්න ඕක. I don't think you can tell. I tell you this one. මේ command එක මම ගහලා පෙන්නනවා ඔයගලන්ට. Select this command because in cloud Oracle creates containerized databases with multi-tenant architecture. So that's the thing. Containerized data, it doesn't create a non-multi-tenancy database. So we need to understand that one a bit. So we are in a pluggable database. So that is why the name is different. It shows me the root database name. In our case, our learning up to now, we have learned the non-multi-tenancy. Multi-tenancy, non-multi-tenancy, there are two things like that. But we have learned up to now only the multi-tenancy. So see, if I query that one, the container ID, let me take that. Hurry up, put it down. Yeah, he says the name is now is showing me the name. This is a pluggable database name, DBL2. This is container ID 345. That means it has 345 PDBs in this database that I have created. So it's a container database, it gets multi-tenant database. So that's why we can't get the exact name, but don't worry. That don't need to worry about that. We can work with this database as it is. The matter on a command table. There's no issue like that. But here on premise with our practical, there's a conflict between what we have learned and the autonomous database, because this will always go for the new technology. No? So the new technology is goes with the multi-tenancy architecture. Further, we can confirm this like this. When maybe was select container database. Let me check. So select CDB from VLog. Make a yes. I can make a CDB means what? Containerized database. Make output yes. Whereas in our case, අපේ output එක practical එකේ select make a no. Select CDB from V dollar database. For this one, it says V dollar database. I make කියන්න බා. ඇයි මෙහෙම වෙන්නේ? You can tell. Who is our user?
user
User one.
Negative. User one. There privileges. So we just say con. This has this TBA. Okay. Password. Let's skip. Right. Then we just select this one. This fellow doesn't have privileges. So therefore it's a table law. Now this has the privileges. Make a no. In our database, it's not a CDB, it's no, but cloud database is a CDB, yes. So they වෙනස් thing. So therefore, don't worry about the database name. අර කලබල වෙන්න එපා. අපි හැදුවේ මේ database එක නම් මේ අක වෙන එකක් වෙන්නවා කියලා. Right? So don't worry about in that way, but you can just do your basic practicals. Whatever we did here, we just create the table, we just create the users and everything, and those things you can do as it is, no issues at all. Any questions? Got the idea? Creation a cloud database in Oracle and connecting with SQL developers. Then make assignment they done it hadaන්න step ලියන්න කියන්නේ. ඒක ඉතින් දන්නේ නැහැ, right? So therefore you need to be very clear about that. Are we okay? Okay, so if we are okay, as per the best practice, even though these are free, don't leave those resources. You are practical delete those things, terminate it, don't keep it. Right? It's not the best practice. But there are limits, no number of hours, free TA limits. So therefore, if we keep on running this one unnecessary, it might count for our free hours. So therefore, what we have to do, go here, then the gear. Actions gear, you go down, terminate, stop it, and you just give the name. Cut the penama DBL2. So you just give DBL2. It will terminate. Got it? Terminate. That will complete it. Take it off. Terminating.
So terminate can delete sir?
Exactly. It's gone. Come. No. Delete can I terminate can terminate means you are just completely taking the resources, everything. Deleting means you are just temporarily shutting it. No. I ගන්න පුළුවන් delete කරනවා. ඒ options වෙනස්. Now for example,
ඔව් සර් Azure එකේ තියෙන delete කරන එක. දැන් මේකේ terminate තමයි. ඒක
වෙනවා. Cloud පොඩ වෙනස් වෙනවා පොඩි terms. මෙහෙම ගන්න. හරිම ක්‍රමය වෙන්න මෙහෙම. If you want to shut down the database, don't delete or terminate, just shut it down. Then you can start up at any time. Got it? If you want to completely remove it, you just terminate it completely. That's it. ඒ option එක තියාගත්තාම පැටලෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක on කරගන්න.
down කරලා තිබුණත් free hours count කරනවද?
No, it won't count. Good question. You keep it, shut it down. Nothing will happen. You can start up the way you want it next time. After that, make up mama මෙහෙම කරලා I didn't do any practicals. No, I just think you want to do many practicals and you can't delete it. No, just keep it down and start up on next day. No cost for you. No, it won't count. Yes, that's a very good practice actually. But if you are just testing only this practical, දෙක තුන ATP කියන්නේ autonomous database 1 2 3 ඔහෙම කරලා යන්න එපා. අවශ්‍ය විතරක් තියාගන්න ඉතින් ඒක ඩවුන් කරලා delete කරලා. We can terminate කරලා දාන්න. The only database you are doing your practicals, just shut it down and next day come and start it up and continue the practical. That is the best practice. Almost terminated. This is very fast. Comparatively, Oracle database is very fast. Now, if you do the same practical in Azure also, it takes more than time this, but this is very few seconds it does it.
VM එක slow ටිකක්. Azure ටිකක් fast වගේ තියෙනවා.
Oracle එක VM එකද?
නෑ මම කියන්නේ මේ Azure එකේ virtual machine මේ දැන් delete කරන එක ඉක්මනට යනවා. දැන් මේ මම Oracle එකේ එකක් කරා ගොඩක් කළා යනවා. delete terminate ලා යන්න.
එහෙමද?
ඔව් මම කරලා බලලා තියෙන ටිකක්.
ඔව්.
හැබැයි database නම් ඉක්මනට මේ වුණා. database creation එක නම් මේ Oracle එක ඉක්මනට වුණා.
Yeah, true. ඒ මොනවා specific not කරනවද දන්නේ anyway, right? It can happen, but database, yes, but as you said, is very fast.
සමහරට region එකකින්ද දන්නේ නැහැ sir.
Oh, but Oracle region එක අදාළ නැහැ because latency is yes very low comparatively. Okay, right. Okay, so we will do the rest of the architecture component interaction next day. So because we have to do this practical take so let's do it on other day. I think we can complete that one on next day. Any questions for today? You can ask. Now I have to share a lot of things for you. Last day session upload make upload and I have to share these practicals as well. Commands these documents like this as well. I'll share in LMS and as well as the practicals because you all have to do those things. So වෙනම note කියලා එකක් දෙන්නේ නැහැ. This goes in interactive like this. Reference documents උත් දෙනවනේ documentation එකේ ඒවා and channel is always there for you. For extra reference refer to the channel. Well explained, but the only thing is in the channel මේ cloud දෙක මේවා දාලා නැහැ තව. I haven't put there. So there's a separate cloud portal no. Channel එකේ cloud portal එක වෙනම තියෙනවා. මේකේ මේ cloud portal එක එච්චර extra අරගන්න නැහැ but I will take it forward. So we have a separate cloud portal. ඔයගොල්ලෝ දකින්නද මම දැන් playlist එකේ separate playlist for cloud. මේකේ cloud portal වෙනවා තියෙන මේකට industry overview එකක් දීලා තියෙන්නේ. But this needs to be revised. Anyway, industry overview is fine. ඒක latest තමයි තියෙන latest කියන්නේ 5 months back. But I haven't uploaded any Oracle stuff here yet. This is a generic industry overview. ඒකෙත් හොඳ ගොඩාක් දේවල් දාලා තිනවා. I mean, anyone want to start cloud learning, this is one of the best. Everything, a lot of things I explained. Okay, right. Right, no questions. Then shall we stop for today? Okay, no. Okay, then I'll stop for today. I think we'll meet on next Wednesday. Okay, have a great time, right? Bye bye.